Hi and welcome to Let's Be Friends, a podcast about women's friendships. I'm Izzy and a warm welcome to my first ever guest, Nicole, who I'm very lucky to be able to call my friend. So we're going to be talking today about making friends as an adult and about keeping those friendships across time and space, and also longer term friendships from childhood, keeping those as well. So I know that a lot of people find that it can be more difficult to make friends as an adult, or that that's something that they kind of are struggling with. So I thought we could maybe look at how we became friends as adults and then think kind of how can that work? Is it still possible, even though it may be more challenging? So obviously I know, but maybe you could talk us through sort of how we became friends and how we met.
Of course, going down memory lane. So I, as you can probably tell from the accent, I moved down from Scotland and I didn't know anyone down this way. So I basically took to social media to try and find any groups of women in the area that I could get to know and hopefully get some friends off the back of that. So I joined a Ladies of Reading Facebook group, which Izzy, you were a part of as well. And I went along to a dinner meeting with with that group, and Izzy was the person sat next to me basically.
Yeah, luckily.
Yeah, I know. We just kind of hit it off, didn't we? It was just it just worked. And I think everyone was so lovely and welcoming in that group.
100%.
Anyway. And so it felt like a really natural place to go and meet people. Like, it didn't feel awkward, which going in by yourself, you're a bit like, gosh.
It could be daunting. Yeah, absolutely. And why, you said you were looking for a group of women locally. What was it about it being a women's group that was attractive to you?
I think it just felt a lot more natural and less daunting, I think, probably.
Yeah.
I think I was very fortunate to have a group of friends in work that I had met through the grad programme that I was on, but I really wanted to look for a group of women that I could hang out with outside of work and, kind of hopefully develop those friendships more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basically.
Yeah, I think it's so important to have kind of multiple different groups of friends as well. And then if there is any kind of drama in one group, or even if there's not, just to be able to have that kind of balance and not feel all your eggs in one basket.
100%.
And obviously, as we're going to talk about a bit later, you have actually done a great job of keeping your friends long term. But why was it so important to you to have local friends in here?
I think having that support network locally to just, you can, if there's anything going wrong, you can, tap into that, but also you can celebrate the kind of highs together as well. It's obviously very lovely having friends still back home in Scotland, but it is a phone call or a FaceTime as opposed to actually being able to catch up in real life ultimately. And so it's nice to have that local friend group where even if you don't have any plans, you can just go, oh, hey, are you around today? Do you fancy going for a walk? Do you fancy grabbing food? Something like that.
100%. Yeah, and I think it's that regular contact as well. I think it's always amazing to catch up with an old friend, but it is a catching up. You have to kind of get them up to speed.
Yeah.
Whereas I think there's something comforting about kind of, you know what's going on, here's the update kind of thing.
Exactly, which we do very well.
Yes, 100%, yeah. Well, I loved it the other week when we went to the pub that we usually go to and the guy had already got our drinks ready.
Yeah, I know.
So it was all good.
You've been there so many times when
100%.
they already had it poured.
But there's something very comforting, I think, in that familiarity, in that repetition.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And do you have any advice for someone who is maybe struggling to make friends as an adult or finding it challenging?
I honestly think the best way is either to find, again, similarly to the Facebook group that I joined, thinking of what are the activities I like to do, outside of work, outside of my day-to-day. And netball is something that I know I love.
Likewise.
And so when I moved down here, I was like, right, netball, let's see if there's any local leagues or anything that I can tap into, because that's ultimately a shared interest right off the bat. So that kind of makes it easier in some way to kind of, you've already got that shared love of the sport. So the conversation can just kind of go from there. So I feel like that's maybe less daunting than with something like Ladies of Reading, where walking into a place by yourself can be quite a lot when you don't know anyone. You don't know if there's really much shared interest, but a kind of activity like a sport or a music or something like that, and trying to find a local activity in the area is quite good.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with that. And I guess there's less pressure to be making conversation right off the bat because you're doing something.
Exactly.
Whereas, I mean, obviously we both love to chat, so going to a dinner and chatting was quite comfortable. But I think for some people, starting a conversation with someone that you've never met before can be quite daunting.
Yeah, 100%.
And then if you meet someone that you think, as you say, we kind of clicked and it made sense, like how do you then actually be friends with them from that moment of just like, oh, we had a nice interaction?
Yeah. It's always a weird one, isn't it? Because I think, I'm just trying to think back of what we did. I think obviously we must have got each other's numbers or Facebook or something.
Yeah, it must have been Facebook.
It must have been Facebook. And then it's kind of, you kind of need to keep putting yourself out there. You know what I mean? Like, you've obviously had that initial meeting and it went really well, but, suggesting meeting up and doing things together and just having that kind of regular rhythm of, as we said, this, that kind of, we have a very good weekly kind of catch up now after netball. But yeah, I think you need to keep putting yourself out there after that initial meeting and make an effort to catch up.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's part of what can be difficult as well, because there's that fear of rejection.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's one of the things that people find more difficult about making friends as an adult is you're not often thrown into positions with the same people as much. So you actually have to actively not just be like, oh, see you at school tomorrow. Be like, let's see each other again, please.
No, 100%. 100%. I mean, like, I think I've said this to you a few times, like, even at uni, you get thrown into halls together. And so there's already a natural way to meet people. And it's a bit easier to find yourself in situations where you meet each other. But yeah, as an adult, you do kind of, there isn't really that as such as maybe work, but outside of that, it's...
Yeah. And even work is different because at uni, especially for me, because I was in halls all 3 years. So you're really very much living with everybody, studying with everybody, all with the same people the whole time. So you have so many opportunities to make friends. Kind of in every aspect of your life, it's the same people. Whereas work, you see them during the day and then you go home and you can see them, but there's no requirement.
Yeah. And I mean, in my world, most of it's online. Like, I don't, that was another thing when I moved down here. I was starting a job with a new place, but it was 1 day a week in the office. So I'm like, oh, right, okay, so I only have 1 day a week to really actually see people at lunch and things, and then everything else is just on a screen. So, and
that's a lot. That's like quite a long period of time to get that regular contact enough to actually become friends. Plus, you need to like do your work.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, I don't know. It was weird to navigate, but you kind of just muddle your way through.
Yeah. No, I think so, and I think that's also having to spend so much of your time working. I think is one of the barriers as well, because while you can meet people through work, and obviously you have got work friends, and I've got a few people I've kept from previous works as well. You also, it's less time that you're not then, uni, you might be studying, but you might be studying with your friends even. I think, it's a real pressure that people are facing. I think maybe that's one of the reasons that people find it difficult as well. Yeah,
100%. And it kind of, it's that way that you're doing so much time management in your job anyway. And then you do need to be, I mean, weekends, my gosh, they get booked up way in advance because you are trying to ensure that you're keeping in contact with everyone. But everyone's schedules are so busy because they're working Monday to Friday, a lot of my friends anyway. And you have to kind of, work around that and work around the various things that they've got going on in their life as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, it's a much less spontaneous thing. I think there's a real scheduling that comes into it.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's more effort, more fear of rejection, and more scheduling. But I actually think, in some ways, that can make the friendships stronger. And I think, at least for me, I had, friends that I saw a lot at uni and felt that we were really close and kind of assumed that those friendships were going to last. Yeah. Obviously, the pandemic happened just after I left uni, so that was quite a barrier to me keeping those friendships. But I think if you haven't had to put any effort into a friendship, then going from that to suddenly it being a huge amount of effort, not living in the same town, a global pandemic where you're not allowed to see each other, all of this stuff, then actually you haven't necessarily built that foundation of effort. Whereas I feel like, obviously you're going to be moving to London soon, and I feel more confident about us kind of staying friends and keeping that because we already put an effort to see each other. So I feel like that's just a natural extension of that, and we've kind of almost like built up that muscle.
Yeah, I know. It's good to put that, actually. I never really thought of it like that. But yeah, I think it is. It's, you know, you kind of get into a natural cadence, and then it's just a case of ensuring that you're making the time to catch up with the people that you're friends with, whether that be back in Scotland or, you know, when I'm in London and yourself and I catching up. It's just, as you say, you've kind of built the relationship to a really strong point, so it's going to continue because we both kind of put that effort in.
Yeah, 100%. So one thing that I really admire about you is that you have been able to keep your friends really well, both from when you were really young and also across quite a lot of distance. Yeah. So I was wondering sort of how are some of the strategies of how you've been able to do that?
Yeah, gosh, I think it's not really treating them that much different to how you would like treat your local friends. I think obviously there's, you know, you can meet your local friends in real life, and obviously it's a bit different when it's friends from back home. But I guess the strategies are kind of the same. It's around, you know, making sure you're making the time to catch up, and like you would schedule, you know, you and I having a catch up on a Saturday. It's the same with your like friends back in Scotland. So scheduling FaceTimes. I'm a big fan of a voice note. So me and my friends back home, we very rarely just text because it doesn't seem as personal. So voice notes and kind of photo dumps, I guess, of our week or our day. We do a lot of those type of things rather than, you know, texting, just to kind of, as I say, make it a bit more personal. So I think it's that side, but also then making an effort to see each other in real life. While it might not be as frequent as we would like to, or, you know, as frequent as we get to, it is still important that I make the time and the effort to go up and see them, but also they will quite often make the time and effort to come down and see me as well. So it's very much a two-way thing, and I think, you know, we've got into a bit of a rhythm where it works, and we've, luckily been able to kind of stay good friends.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And I guess it ties into what we were talking about before with it being that effort and that deliberateness as well. It's not that it can't be done, but it does require that kind of commitment from both people.
Yeah.
And I guess it's that fear of rejection thing from before. It's kind of you're putting in this effort and hoping that that's reciprocated. So I think there's a courage element there as well.
100%. And trust, I guess, and ensuring that it's not just a one-sided thing, and you know, you want to make sure that both of you are putting in the effort and that it works for both people involved.
Yeah, no, 100%. And in terms of with friends that you've had for a really long time, how have those friendships kind of evolved? Obviously, I'm thinking of a particular friend of yours you've known since you were really little. So obviously you've both changed a lot as people since then. Has that friendship kind of grown with you?
Yeah, I think so. All the different eras for sure, I think. So as you say, I've got a particular friend that we were born on the same day. We've lived around the corner from one another while I was younger and still back in Scotland. And then I moved away for uni. So that was the first kind of, I guess, difference in the friendship, because we weren't on each other's doorstep. But again, we made a lot of effort to come back and see each other, FaceTimes, etc. And then, moving down here has been quite a big difference because she's still back up in Scotland. But we definitely have gone through all the different eras. Yeah. We've definitely grown up together. So it's been really nice because it's almost like, I mean, she's basically like a sister at this point, because I don't really know anything different than...
Yeah, she's always been there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been really nice to see the kind of different, I guess, paths that we've both taken, and when we look back and reminisce, that's something we love doing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, like younger photos or videos or joint parties we used to have.
Oh,
like,
that's so cute.
yeah, it's really lovely to sit and reminisce, and I'm sure we'll be doing that over a glass of wine in years to come as well.
Oh,
so yeah,
that's so lovely.
Yeah.
And I feel like the fact that you have retained these friendships makes me feel really good about our friendship. And I feel, because I haven't been as successful with keeping a lot of my previous friends, which is, you know, kind of something I'm sad about with a lot of those friends, because they were amazing people, and I sort of think, where did I go wrong there? But I feel like with you moving to London, I think I've said this before, but it would be easy for me to be like, oh no, this is the next loss of a friendship. But I kind of think, looking at, as you say, you've kept up this effort, these different ways of keeping in touch, making the time to see each other. It makes me kind of think, no, we'll be all right.
Yeah, I hope my track record kind of speaks for itself.
Exactly. I mean, mine doesn't necessarily, but I'm like, Nicole knows what to do.
Be all good.
We'll do
yeah,
it.
we'll be fine. We'll muddle through it. But yeah, as I say, if Emily and I can do it from back in Scotland, you know, we can 100% do it from Reading to London. So.
Yeah, it's not actually very far. Yeah, those trains are fast. And do you find that there's something special about kind of having someone who knows all of your different eras? Is there kind of a context there that it's useful for her to have?
I think so. I think she's definitely someone that she probably knows me the best, as kind of as well as I guess my family do, because they've always been there. So I think she's definitely someone that I can go to about anything, and quite often, you know, if there's anything as well from a family standpoint or anything, you know, she knows all of them very well. And so I think, you know, having someone who's always been there and really knowing you, she can give me quite good advice, and knows me probably better than I know myself half the time. So yeah.
That's so interesting. Yeah, the family stuff. Because there is something I feel like trying to explain your family to someone else, it's always, there's so much history, there's so much specifics.
All of the
not just
different
you,
bits.
but any person's family. Yeah. So yeah, having kind of an outsider of the family, but with all of that context, is quite like, you know.
No, she basically is part of the family. So there isn't, on the context point, about anything. She basically has been there for it all, so she doesn't need that context, because I mean, she's living and breathing it with me basically. So,
100%. Yeah, because I find when I tell someone anything about my life, I start to tell it, and then I go, wait, you need more context. Start to tell it, and they go, no, there's more. I feel like we're always kind of layering up that experience and trying to explain one thing about yourself. Suddenly you're like, oh, you need to know. Here's the book. This. Yeah.
I need to give you all of this first.
100%. That's so interesting. I feel like we've covered quite a lot in terms of making friends, keeping friends. Is there any kind of last advice or tips you have for anyone in either of those things that you feel like we haven't covered fully yet?
No, I think, to be honest, it just comes back to the making the time for each other and making sure it's a two-way thing ultimately.
100%.
And I think that's important from a cadence point of view as well, whether that's far away in Scotland or nearby. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that two-way street thing is important as well. And I think while we're talking about making friends and keeping friends as a desirable thing, I also think there are times when it is right to let go of certain friendships. And I think if it's not being a two-way street, it's one of those as well.
Yeah, 100%. That's so important, that effort from both parties. You want to, you know, feel like you want to obviously keep up with them and chat to them, but you also want to feel that that's, you know, reciprocated as well.
100%, yeah. And I think if you're someone for whom friendship is a priority, it's also seeking out other people that it's a priority for as well. And I think that's one of those things. Obviously, we were saying we met and we clicked and it worked. And I think part of what was, obviously there's loads of stuff that goes into that. There's chemistry, shared interests. But one of those things I think is a similar level of prioritising of friendship. And I think we met and noticed that for us, it was both of us, it was a really important thing. And that means you're going into it on a kind of equal level and we're both having that commitment to the effort that we've been talking about.
Yeah, 100%. It's a shared shared value of that, I think, is important, and you can understand that and get that from someone quite quickly when meeting them, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you so much, Nicole.
No, thanks for having me.
Oh, no, absolutely. I feel like it's been a really, really great conversation. Lots to take away. And there'll be new episodes of Let's Be Friends coming out on Wednesday afternoons. So please do join us for future episodes. We'll have new guests every time. And thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.